Welcome to the 28th Miami Jewish Film Festival, the largest Jewish film festival in the world. We want to thank all of our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, all of you film lovers, especially our presenting sponsors, SAGE, the Center for the Advancement of Jewish Education, and the Greater Miami Jewish Federation for their continued support throughout all these years. My name is Stephanie Rosen, and I am the co-founder of 3G Miami. We are a program that trains the descendants of Holocaust survivors how best to share their grandparents' stories and share them in middle and high schools and universities. I am excited to be moderating a virtual conversation with Aleksandar Reljic. He is the director and producer of the movie Novi Sad Remembrance, which is premiering at this year's festival. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Aleksandar, did I pronounce your name? Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Aleksandar Reljic.
Reljic. Okay. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So welcome here today. Thank you so much for this incredible film. I felt like I learned so much. And I'm going to ask you if you could just start by giving us a little bit of background. I think, although so many of our viewers probably know a lot about the Holocaust and what happened, they most certainly don't know the story of Novi Sad. And I think even, what was going on in that region at the time of the raid. So I wanted to ask you just to give us a little bit of a background. What brought you to making this movie, and as much as you can, elaborate on the specifics of that area.
Let me say that I'm very grateful that Novi Sad Remembrance is a part of your festival, that it's selected, and it's really a great honor, first of all. Then I just have to say that this is not the only film about Holocaust that I worked on. I was dealing with Holocaust issues, I think now for more than 10 years, filming about it, especially in the region of the Balkans. I started with Auschwitz, the Yugoslav Remembrance. And Auschwitz, the Yugoslav Remembrance is about the fact that after the dissolution of Yugoslavia, we lost our memory room in our remembrance room in Auschwitz State Museum in Auschwitz. So we were one of the first who actually opened the museum space in the Pavilion 17 in Auschwitz in 1963 as Socialist Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. And after the dissolution in 1991, this memory room was actually closed. So I wanted to make a story about it. So that was my first goal to show to the whole of the ex-Yugoslavia that we actually have our Yugoslavian victims invisible in Auschwitz, especially because of the idea that in 1944, when it was the big deportation of the Hungarian Jews, 10,000 Jews from Bachka region, where my city is located. Novi Sad is, the biggest city of this Bachka region, which was a part of Hungary in the Second World War. So 10,000 Jews were killed in 1944 in this Action, when 425,000 Jews were killed in just 56 days. So that's how I started. And the Novi Sad Remembrance is a kind of natural, how to say, it's a natural thing that I actually closed the circle. I also made a film about um, grandson of Auschwitz commander and a Holocaust survivor, Eva Moses Gore. She actually, the two of them in 2014 made a pledge to have their joint fight against rise of neo-Nazism, anti-Semitism, and um, I made in 2015 a film about the two and their struggle against the rising of their rights in Europe, and now we can see it also in America, if I may be so free to say so. So Novi Sad Remembrance is actually closing the circle of my work on Holocaust. Novi Sad and Bachka region were occupied by Hungarians in 1941. And it was a kind of territory where Jews were actually escaping from the rest of the former Yugoslavia to try to find their, to save their lives. Yeah. Um, in the beginning, the Hungarians, they did have the racial laws, but in the beginning, they were not killing people. In 1942, when Miklos Horthy had a kind of plan not to join Hitler in his invasion of the Soviet Union, he actually tried to make a kind of crisis in the southern Bachka and Novi Sad. So there were a few partisans who were actually active in these parts of the country, but they were not actually attacking any of the fascists at the time, Hungarian fascists at the time. Their plan was to move across the Danube and make a union with other partisan units who were actually fighting in this across the Danube in Srem, region of Srem. But Horthy wanted to make this crisis, so um, they attacked those partisans. They actually escaped. The biggest mistake was that they escaped inside the villages of Bachka. And then the raid started in all the small villages and towns in Bachka, South Bachka region. So there, it actually occurred that they their main goal was to kill all the Serbs, Jews, and Roma people in this part of the territory. So they started in a small village of Churuk when they massacred several hundreds people, around 500 people. There was a lot of children also killed in this raid in Churuk. Then they moved to other villages around. And from 21st to 23rd of January 1942, when we had the coldest winter of, I would say, of the 20th century, um, they made this Novi Sad raid. They killed more than 1,000 people in Novi Sad, and they were killing them and throwing under the ice of the Danube. They also did it in other villages. So the rivers of Danube and Tisa were a lot of, I mean, they were full of corpses and killed people. So I mean, that kind of crime was I think the biggest tragedy of our tragedy in the 20th century, what these parts of the world survived. I mean, in a way. So it was natural for me to go and to film this story. Um, we have a lot of, I mean, probably this is some other topic, but I must underline that it's the same, yeah, in a way. Um, After the dissolution of Yugoslavia and new regimes and, new countries, new 6 and 7 countries at the end, which was founded after Yugoslavia. We were dealing more than 30 years with history revision. You know, a lot of war criminals are rehabilitated. A lot of collaborators with Nazis and fascists became a kind of heroes. And, um, so the idea was actually to see what the education is working, and so um, I wanted to make an angle uh, and to tell the whole story through the eyes and work of Professor Marija Vasic, a sociology teacher in one of the oldest Novi Sad high schools, gymnasiums. And so the whole January, she's actually um, teaching about raids and Holocaust. Uh, so that was for me the best angle to start filming. And what happened during our three years um, filming and working? Um, the city authorities, local authorities, because of their political coalitions with Hungarians and Hungarian parties, and because of the great friendship between Viktor Orban and our president Aleksandar Vučić, Hungarian president and Serbian president. Um, they started to build a monument to the so-called innocent victims of the 1944 and 45. In 1944, when Russians liberated this part of the territories and also Yugoslav partisans who actually um, came and we actually liberated at the end the whole country. But at first, these parts were supported and helped by Soviet Red Army. Um, we there were, of course, revenge, and of course it was a lot of killings of probably innocent victims and innocent Hungarian people or German people who were living here. I must say for centuries, both Hungarians and Germans were living in these parts of the country because these parts were actually the old Austro-Hungarian monarchy. Yeah. So there were innocent victims, but they they wanted to put the names of the monument of also um, sentenced war criminals who actually were killing and also in this Novi Sad raid, who were also involved in the deportations in 1944, etc., etc. So there were a lot of protests in our city against it, and this film had completely um, a new angle, and we actually got to real drama, and we actually had a great film. So that that's something that filmmakers can only imagine in their way to work on a film.
Wow. Well, thank you for adding all of that background and explaining. So is that why the monument has still not gone up?
No, it's not gone up. Yes. No,
But is that
we
why? Because of the
they
controversy?
didn't finish it. There's still a stone there and a lot of anti-fascist graffiti and things like that. But they really stopped with all this activities. But I'm not sure that they will just leave it like that.
Okay. Wow. I mean, it sounds like you definitely had an effect. And since you brought up Marja, the teacher, that was what
Maria,
say it again. Marja.
Maria.
Maria. Maria.
She's Mary, yeah, Maria.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
with a J. But
Okay.
that was one of my questions. How did you connect with her? How did you decide to work with her? I was so impressed by the way you captured, how she teaches, and given that the work that I do is very much related to Holocaust education as well, I was just so fascinated at the. She's doing the exact same thing we are here in Miami. So I happy to see that. But tell me how you connected with her, and you did a good job capturing her classroom.
I must say that Maria and I are really old friends, and then we were actually, we know each other from the elementary school, and we were also we grown up together. I mean, we are from the same hood, for example. So we know each other for all our lives, and the thing is that we actually have this very similar um, I mean, interests, So actually, when she wrote this book, the first book, um, when God closed his eyes, I mean that could be the headline in English. Um uh, in that time, I was working on my first film, Auschwitz Yugoslav Remembrance. So we really uh, gone through all this process together, and at the end, we had this idea to make a film about our city and what was happening in our city in Second World War. And we thought that's something that we have to leave to ours, especially today.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. Um, do either of you have a personal, obviously you have a personal connection, it's your area, but do you have a personal family connection to any of this?
No, actually not. No,
Like
I
mention,
mean the only personal connection Maria has, her father actually survived Novi Sad raid in a way that he was wearing the Hungarian school uniform that day, and an Hungarian soldier pushed him away and told him, "Go home," you know. So, and it was the first day when it wasn't so much killing and everything. The first day of the raid was actually the real raid in a way. So they were getting inside the houses. They were asking for weapons, for the papers, IDs, stuff like that. They were more like trying to frighten the people in the city, and killing actually started the other day. So that's how her father survived the Novi Sad raid. Then a year after that, he went to and joined partisans. And in 1944, he came in Novi Sad as a liberator with a guitar on his shoulder.
wow,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah.
incredible. Well, both of you, I commend
Lazar
you really.
Lazar Vasic, his name is. Okay, an old
Because
fighter.
you didn't mention, she doesn't mention him anywhere, unless I missed it.
She just said that she knew a lot from their parents' stories, and that was that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I also wanted to touch upon at the end of the film, you talk about, many of the people that were in the film, just with the subtitles at the end, and where they are. And how timely that I was curious when you started filming, how long it took. Very timely. Two of the four people you mentioned have since passed away. So another commendation that you got this done. Time is fleeting. So
I must say that when we finished the film, when we finalized the whole process, before that, 2 months before that, Professor Kovacs died in his 101.
one.
Yes,
101, I think.
101. Yeah, and even Ivany died just, I think, 4 days before the premiere, because I called him and I was talking to him on the phone, and he was at the time he was in Buchenwald. He was in Weimar, yeah, and he got I think a life award or something like that from the city of Weimar because of his um, how to say he's teaching on Holocaust and coming every year to Buchenwald and talk with the young people about his experience, and he's actually a great writer of Serbia. He wrote, I think, dozens. I mean, no, like uh, 20, 30 books, 40. I don't know. I mean, he's a classic. He was a classic. He's said for himself that he's a classic scribbleman. So he really was a great guy, and he was actually a Tito's translator. He was Tito's translator of German uh,
Wow.
during the Tito area, but Tito also knew German, but he was using Ivan Ivany to have a kind of time to think what he's going to say next to his
Oh
uh,
my.
so it was great listening to him, and of course those anecdotes with Tito, and anecdotes actually of whole his life is a huge anecdote in a way. So
Absolutely.
even though he survived the horrific Auschwitz and Buchenwald.
So the film took you how long to make? I'm just so glad you got it done before they passed.
Yeah, um, 3 years.
We
It's
did.
around, yeah, it's around 3 years of filming, but I must say that we started with our work before that. I would say close to 5 years, close to
Incredible.
5 years of working and preparing, and um, trying to see what kind of fundings we can get, and it was not so easy, of course,
I'm
but
sure.
we managed at the end.
Well, I'm glad you did. One last thing I want to highlight, unless there's something else, other than what I bring up, but I particularly loved at the end, before it cut through to, where everybody is today, when you showed the leaders getting along with the cute TikTok, and I just thought that's such a great lesson. There are so many. The world's going in such a difficult place, and it's hard to imagine some of these areas where neighbors are going to eventually one day get along. But I'm going to ask one last question about how you decided to end the film with showing that the leaders are getting along, and how you feel about that. Is it real? and why you decide. I mean, I like that. I thought it was hopeful, but I'd like to hear your thoughts about it.
I must say I had a lot of doubts to screen that TikTok reel between the two presidents, but I think that this TikTok was the best tool to actually show how um, how how to say what kind of relationship they have and what they are actually how deep they are in their really uh, um, uh, like relations between the countries and how they are really dealing with the problems that we have as neighbors, because we have actually very deep problems from the centuries, but the thing is, okay, I am I'm actually I am for the reconciliation, or the best is, like Maria said, we don't need any reconciliation because we didn't actually argue like between ourselves, but we have to face the history, and we have to face the crimes, what happened, and and I just wanted to show how um, this this camp of their relation, if I if you understand what I'm saying. I mean,
Do.
this is they actually have deals. They actually have businesses. They don't think about their people and nations and nothing about it. Um, we had I mentioned to Douglas at the beginning. You were not here before that. Um, we had a great tragedy in our city the other day. Uh, we had an accident in our railroad station,
It
crashed
was in the
down.
news today. I saw it in
Yeah,
our news today with
yeah,
the roof caving in.
yes,
That was
yes.
in your city.
Yes, and the 14 people died, and I don't think it's the final result of this tragedy. And one of my colleagues said um, that Novi Sad actually survived bombing in the middle of the 19th century. Hungarians bombed Novi Sad, and they completely destroyed it. Then it was in this 1848, 49 revolution. And then we survived Novi Sad raid, and we survived Holocaust. And we couldn't imagine that our own state will kill us, you
Oh,
know. And the thing is that that station was opened by Viktor Orban and Aleksandar Vučić. So the two opened rail station, which was rebuilded by the China companies, which are doing and working in Serbia and in Hungary. And those are those criminal and corrupted contracts worth of dozens and dozens of millions of dollars for just some kind of railroad station in one town, And so they're actually dealing with they think only about their mutual businesses. They don't think about people. The best way to show that was to put that TikTok reel at the time and say, these two guys are filming themselves about cevapcici and wine and whatever, food and drinks and football and stuff like that, and don't think about the monuments that are building in our city to war criminals.
right. Okay, I hear you. It was so it's not really, I mean, so it's not people, so it's not as hopeful and positive as it seems.
Yes. I told you I was really thinking of do I uh, can I do that or what? Uh, how the people will actually um, see that TikTok reel, but at the end I decided just to put that and don't say anything.
Right, right. Well, I'm glad you elaborated on how you feel about it and, clarified for us.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we are right about the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to wrap it up if there's not anything else that you want to share.
I just want to thank you for being selected to Miami Jewish International Film Festival once again, and to thank you for this great Q&A session, and thank you for your interest for my film, of course.
Well, thank you. And I'm just going to conclude with the more official saying here, which is thank you, Aleksandar Reljic,
Reljic.
Reljic, the director and producer from the movie Novi Sad Remembrance, for joining us. Once again, thank you to all of our members, sponsors, community partners, volunteers, all of you film lovers, and especially our presenting sponsors, SAGE, the Center for the Advancement of Jewish Education, and the Greater Miami Jewish Federation, for their continued support throughout all these years. And thank you, our audience, for participating in the 28th Annual Miami Jewish Film Festival.